Blog Talk Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, it's Leave It in the Ring.
And welcome back to another edition of LIITR Ring Radio. I'm your host, Dave Duenez, with my co-host, Mr. Gabriel Montoya. Another beautiful day here in California. Actually, off this whole past weekend, it's been really, really gorgeous. So before we start the show, people that do follow me on social media and know me in my personal life, I want to thank everybody that actually even sent me condolences on my email and in social media about my uncle, who had been battling his health for the last past year. So on Thursday, when arriving home from work, I got the worst news I could get, was that my uncle had passed away. He finally crossed over, and so I want to tell him rest in peace. My uncle was a big part of reason why I fell in love with the sport of boxing. He is the first man to teach me how to throw a jab. When I was a kid, we used to play a game with the neighborhood in downtown San Jose called King of the Block, and pretty much all the kids would come around. And before this, bare knuckle fighting has always been around. And just imagine a bunch of little elementary kids getting down dirty in the dirt. And my Uncle Mario was a very simple but very tough, and he was a disciplined man, to say the least about him, man. And he's going to be greatly, greatly missed. It was a guy that I was able to have very deep conversations about boxing with. I know Errol Spence Jr. versus Mikey Garcia, who was looking forward to that. His sons actually had bought him a huge, I think it was like a 60-plus inch television, because his vision was very poor at the stage where he was at in his health. And they were going to have a party for him to watch that fight, because he was looking forward to that fight. But I now know that he's up there with my grandfather, and they're keeping each other company and talking boxing. So I just want to say, Mario Munoz, we love you. We miss you. Always going to be in our hearts. And just to let you know, we're dedicating this show here to you. So I'm going to miss you, Theo. And thank you for all the great memories. We got a great show for you guys. Some disappointment with the pay-per-view. The first PBC pay-per-view that was aired on Saturday night on Fox. Errol Spence Jr. had a dominant win over Mikey Garcia, but we're going to break it down. Well, we're going to put our input about what we think happened that night, plus the other fights that happened on the other card, and the fights that happened on DAZN, and the fights that happened on ESPN+. But we have a guest, a very special guest that we did have on here on Leaving the Ring before we went back on our hiatus, which is trainer Joe Goosen. Gabriel?
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I reached out to Joe during the fight, and reached out to him again today, and he was like, "Yeah, absolutely, we'd love to come on and regale us with some boxing talk." He'll be joining us about 5:15 today. I'll call him in on the show. And Dave, yeah, my condolences to you. It's losing a loved one is a big deal, but also losing that connection, that person that brought you into this crazy world that we're in, the boxing world. That's really something else too. But this is on every level. I think Joe will attest to this, and kind of be an example of this. That the sport, it's passed on. You can't really catch the fever unless you know somebody that really knows about it, that tells you about it, teaches you about it. When I think of, for me, like the boxing voices that really make boxing boxing, I think of Emmanuel Stewart. I think of Al Bernstein, Jim Lampley, whether you like him or don't like him, who's the voice of boxing. But people that really personally, that I've known, Joe Goosen is right there, like just a voice that I trust what he says. There are things that I lean on, and I look at. I want to ask him about this. When Pacquiao Mayweather were first talking about fighting and the drug testing thing came out, it was Joe that just said wisely to me, if you don't want to fight, you come up with a reason. You create an obstacle that cannot be gotten around. You ask for too much money, or you say you're injured. I believe was the third one. But you basically put up a reason why you can't take that fight. You know, and it's just stuff like that. Even down to he was watching his fighters train. It was John Molina Jr. one of the times, and I noticed that he hits the heavy bag, the big thick one, the biggest one, with small gloves. And I'd ask him, what's with the small gloves? And he's like, it builds up the hands, it makes them stronger. You also learn how to punch correctly. Because you put your knuckles in the right spot as opposed to the pillows, the bigger gloves that people train with to protect their hands. But, it also promotes bad technique. I've been training in smaller gloves ever since. So Joe, I can't wait for him to be back on the show and tell us what he thought about a fight that was a high-level chess match. It wasn't the fight that we all expected, but I think there were various reasons why it didn't kind of kick into a different degree. I think Mikey is on a high level as a boxer, and he was on a high enough level in order to survive. Sort of like Juan Romel Marquez was against Floyd Mayweather. That he wasn't in his weight class, but he was able to use his boxing acumen to survive. Not for lack of trying. To Errol Spence, I thought really, he didn't waste punches, but he kept trying to explore opening Mikey up and landing a shot that would, crack that defense and then open the way for maybe a body shot stoppage or something. I was very impressed with Errol. I thought he held serve, all night long. Maybe the second round was the closest that Mikey got to it. But it was a masterful performance, and it kind of reminded everybody that, this kid didn't get here just by accident. Why people thought that somebody was going to jump up 2 weight classes, and when as a friend of mine on Twitter said, you could tell how Mikey seriously he took the fight by the way he looked at the weigh-in, which I think is just he took it seriously, but the weigh-in showed he was not a welterweight, so it played out in the fight. He had a dad bod. He looked kind of thick in the fight. He looked thicker.
He did look thicker. You know what,
it just didn't equate to being explosive, which is what he needed to be, and elusive, which is what he needed to be.
Right,
Sorry,
right. But when I saw the weigh-in as well, for one, I figured the correct weight for him to come in would be 145 because he could be more on his toes. The movement would be more fluent. Wouldn't have problems because the muscles wouldn't weigh him down. And when I saw that, I was okay. And his body, around his midsection looked really soft. But he almost has that kind of back in the 80s Mexican body. How the fighters looked back in the 80s with the Mexican fighters. They weren't really ripped up, but they were just toned enough to have a good performance when they moved up. But I wasn't expecting Mikey to come in all ripped up, as well as I wasn't expecting Mikey to really have only one game plan. I think a lot of us believe that his IQ was higher and that he was going to be able to execute not one, but two. But we saw Mikey Garcia that immediately, and I'd said this, that we're going to know who's going to dictate the fight with the first punch, who lands that big punch. And when Spence landed that jab, I think it shook Mikey a bit after that third round, because the second round it looked like he was coming on, but when he dared to be brave, he was reminded that he was a lightweight by Spence, and the fight completely changed around. He
was also reminded that he wasn't the only skilled guy in the ring. Yes. Errol showed all different types of defense, head movement, picking stuff off with his gloves, the catch and counter, blocking just straight up, a hard guard to get through. He dominated in every facet of the game. And he didn't have to be overwhelmingly athletic to do it. They were practically standing in front of each other all night long, trading, shot for shot, move for move. It's masterful stuff.
And you know what? It also showed that Errol Spence Jr. took this fight very serious, because he didn't rely, which a lot of folks kind of thought that he was just going to rely on his size. Surprisingly, I got a lot of emails and saying that, man, I'm kind of like dumbfounded that he didn't just come straight forward and use his size against Mikey. He was actually fighting very, very smart in there. And that told me that he was in there knowing that he might have a chess match here, because Mikey's a very intelligent guy. But the jab just really kind of erased any memory muscle that Mikey had in trying to get around his jab, trying to get underneath his jab. I mean, at one point, I was like, man, every round looked like a Groundhog Day. The jab won every single round.
Spence, I was watching it, and it's too early to see it. The Brook fight was a lot closer, a lot more competitive, but that was also a natural 47. But he was coming down in weight from 60 and coming off a loss, and a long layoff. All that healing that needed to be done after that horrific eye surgery that he had to have, and now he's had to have twice, Kell Brooks. But still, here I was watching Spence. I still had this feeling of we're watching this generation's Mayweather in a sense, but he's a southpaw who hits pretty hard, and can get you out of there. I don't think it's a knock on Spence that he didn't knock Mikey out. People went away from saying that Mikey deserved to be talked about because of the accomplishment in the same breath as Manny Pacquiao and Henry Armstrong, who were the only two other fighters to win a piece of the featherweight title, and then win a piece of the welterweight title. But the fact is that Mikey did that in this era, which is kind of a weak era. That you're able to kind of have these kind of historical championship or historical feats is because you have 4 different championship belts. Henry Armstrong didn't have that option. Manny Pacquiao did, and that's in part why he's able to do what he did. Mikey hasn't completely unified a division. He hasn't been undisputed yet. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see him stake his claim back at lightweight and hold serve there. But I'm curious. They took a big shot. They moved, in moving up to 47. They put on all this weight. He looked very thick. Now he's got to take that weight off. What's that going to be like?
Yeah, I don't know. That's going to be the other question.
Yeah, this was a chance for greatness, but now you're kind of off road a little bit. You didn't win a round. Maybe you won the second, but he barely won exchanges.
I know that you aren't disappointed in the way Spence performed, but I think I'm on the other side. I was a bit. I tell you why, because it just looked like he was on cruise control. Like he understood that he was the bigger, faster, more athletic. He was way more in control. Why? Because it was his weight division. At no point did I ever kind of got that sense that Mikey's punch was gonna, put him off, and I don't think he ever got that sense. But I agree with you and most folks saying that it's hard to knock out a guy that is not even willing to commit and trade gloves with you, that kind of ran backwards through the fight and retreated mostly through the whole fight. But at some point, I kind of felt like, okay, you've done all you can. You've showed the guy that you made a huge mistake by not testing out the water before jumping into the deep with the real sharks. I thought if you're a real shark, you're going to go for that attack. You're going to try to figure something more than that. And what I saw was a consistent boxing lesson, but I felt, walking away from the finish of that fight, I felt like, where was the killing instinct of you trying to take him out? I mean, there was moments. It didn't
really. You didn't. I thought he kept trying to. Oh, I thought there was. By the 4th or 5th, really by the 5th, 6th, Mikey had nothing for him, and Mikey knew that he had nothing for him, and it became a survival fight. And I feel like Spence fought his fight, which is like Floyd. He takes the center of the ring. He establishes his jab, establishes his movement that he's going to keep you off balance. If you get a little crazy, start to try to hit him, he'll up his tempo, tame you, back you off, and if it leads to a knockout, it does, and most of the time it does with him. But if it doesn't, he goes back to that comfortable pace, gets behind that jab, and just kind of works that way. I think, especially with a guy like Mikey, who they'd done all this crazy training with the snack training. Spence has heard all about it. That's been a focus. You see that the guy's probably bull strong on the inside, but that his legs aren't really there anymore, his wheels. So, if you're going to step to him, you're hitting him, but he's not doing anything back. Mikey kind of reverted back to his more sniper style. I think, in this fight. It just kind of went to his shell looking for that moment. But why are you gonna play to his strength? Why you walk to him and stay to him? And at some punches is Errol gonna throw.
But,
you know what I mean? Like you're gonna go all in. And what if the guy's playing possum? Which Mikey did in a couple spots.
He did. Yeah, he did. He wanted him to walk towards him while he was going to, walking himself back to the ropes. But here's the thing. What I'm thinking is the criticism has always been is what do you get from beating a lightweight? We know what Mikey Garcia gets. It's a win-win situation for him. If he wins, all the glory is for him. If he doesn't, it goes back to the conversation was, well, a good guy never beats a good big guy. With Spence, to me, the cards were all on him because, everybody said, what do you really get from fighting this guy? And that's the criticism. Now the criticism is, well, you have the smaller guy. The smaller guy felt your power after the third round, retreated the whole fight. You should have went for it. At no point, I mean, even in the fifth and sixth round, when Mike did land a good straight right, you didn't see Spence kind of flinch. There didn't seem to be any real emergency of going, oh man, let me cover up. He really kind of walked through those shots. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think he didn't try to knock him out. I think he tried. I think he explored it all the way to the 12th. And by the 10th, they were like, I thought they should have stopped it. I didn't. We got to call Joe in.
Yeah.
We got all night to talk about this, but I'll say this for a debut pay-per-view: is it better or worse than Mayweather versus Gotti? I'll just put that out there, and then we'll call in Joe right now. Let's see if this blog talk feature works. So we're calling in legendary boxing trainer Joe Goosen. We've switched his normal copy with Sanka.
What? Bueno?
Hey, Joe Goosen. Is this Joe Goosen?
You just threw off Gabriel right now by speaking in Spanish.
Yeah, you did. You way threw me off.
Yeah, of course. I just give you the old bueno. What do you now?
I'm calling from the Trump 2020 campaign. We're looking for some donations.
Yeah. Well, just where do you want the donations, sir?
Just send it to my hotel. Joe,
that's what I thought.
Gabriel Montoya, happy Monday to you.
Gabriel, how are you? It's good to see you.
I'm doing well.
Hear from you, I should say.
We last year we had you on the show, and then we went into like a serious hiatus. So hopefully that doesn't happen again after this episode. But I'm here with my God forbid we should be serious about anything, right? Yeah. The older I get, the less serious I'm becoming, I think.
Exactly.
I think isn't that the point, to just kind of enjoy life? And as I see you enjoying life on the ring side right now, and you're enriching my life.
Look, no. See, look. Let me just tell you something. It's funny you should say enjoy. It's funny you should say enjoying life. I'm literally at a little league park in the beautiful city of Camarillo, where I now reside. And my grandson, who's 8 years old, is playing his second year of little league. And I'm sitting in whatever kind of chair you call that, and watching them play while we're on the radio. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. See?
It's springtime, and the sun is just perfect right now. I bet. That's great.
It's so beautiful right now out. It's unbelievable. Although I hear we're having rain coming again this week. So.
But now we can't say we need it because we're officially out of the drought. So
Oh, listen, I've lived in California in my whole life, and if I figure out one thing, it doesn't rain, and then it rains a lot.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So now go ahead. As my old buddy would say, shoot. Go ahead, shoot.
I'm here with
in other words,
my co-host,
give me some questions. With David Duenez.
Yeah, David Duenez.
Hey, Joe.
No, look,
you see, but wait a minute. You say Duenez, and I say Duenez.
There you
Your
go.
Spanish
Duenez.
might be better than mine, Joe. It's
right.
I actually would not doubt it.
Yeah. How you doing, David? Good to hear from you again.
I'm doing great, man. I'm soaking in all the sun rays as much as I can right now. And
right.
You know, I bet you're having a blast out there. You know, when I used to go watch my
Oh,
kids play when they were little, I always had
right.
tons of fun, man, watching them play. And then I have my granddaughter. She's in the ballet, so I haven't had a chance to go see that, but I've been wanting to do something.
Well,
like that.
I may draw the line there. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I've got 6 granddaughters, and I go to every event. Whatever it is they decide to do, I go to it. I'm just kidding about the ballet. But just as it stands now, they've done more gymnastics than ballet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of soccer.
The kids like the soccer. Everybody's moving from the football. You know, Joe.
Yeah.
The
Mm-hmm.
the last time we talked, towards the end of it, it made me think. You know, there was a guy named Gil Ortiz, a photographer in Los Angeles, a friend of Justin Fortune's, where I used to train a lot at that gym. And he had a picture of Howie Steinler that he claims is one of the last photos, maybe within the last few days, taken of Howie. And so it's kind of like that. He's kind of haunted me since seeing that photo, and Gil was saying that's a story you should tell. And But so I was thinking of it the last time we were talking at the end. We talked a long time. I was just curious. You mentioned before in interviews with me and on this show about apprenticing as a trainer and that process and how maybe that doesn't happen as much as it used to. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, your apprenticeship, and about Howie and that that gym.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, of course, you bring up Howie Steinler. Of course, you know, his daughter, Carol Steinler, took over the Main Street gym when Howie was murdered, unfortunately. And, you know, it's a case they still haven't cracked. Although I did talk to Carol a few months ago, Howie's daughter, and she intimated that the police had gotten a couple of new leads on that. Funny enough, you bring that up. So,
really?
Yes, after all these years. I mean, I can't even tell you, about 35, 40 years now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and now, speaking of, you know, my apprenticeship, you know, I basically did that for about 11 years with Randy Shields. I had happened to, I want to say meet Randy Shields when I was in high school, but he went to a different high school than I did, and we kind of met under circumstances that were a little unusual, to say the least. My brother was a fighter, and Randy's dad was a fighter, and they had sparred each other at an old gym called Frankie Goodman's gym, who used to also write for a newspaper called the Valley News or the Green Sheet in the San Fernando Valley. And Frankie Goodman would write a weekly column called Boxing Biz, funny enough. And so one particular day that my brother was at the gym, he had told me about this 15-year-old kid, Randy Shields, who was, you know, 15 years old. He was 115 pounds, and he had about 70 fights at this particular point in his life. And he said how good he was and everything, and basically kind of insulted me in a sense where he thought Randy could beat me up and blah. You know what brothers do. And so I was a year or so older, and I paid him a visit at his school because that had gotten under my skin as a teenager. And I politely asked him if he'd like to, you know, fight. And so he said, yeah, come over to my house today. He had a ring there, and we went over there, and we had it out for 3 rounds, and I never left the gym since. And that was in 1969, 1970.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So that's how I started. Pardon?
What was it about it? The gym, like
what was
that first? Is it sound? For a lot of guys, it's the sound and the movement. And
well, no, it wasn't even that. I mean, I had, you know, it was a backyard gym. He had a ring literally in his backyard, and the garage had, you know, a couple of heavy bags and a speed bag, and that, you know, that was basically it. So, you know, it served. You know, there were a lot of garage gyms back then in those days, and even before. And, you know, Bobby Ciccone used to work out of the garage gym. I mean, Joe Ponce had one. And so, you know, it was it was more about the competition. I had already been playing football and baseball my whole life, and basketball, and I had 7 brothers. There were 8 boys, and so we played sports every day. Trust me. I mean, I had one brother that played for the Dodgers. I had another brother that fought professionally. All of us were, high school and Babe Ruth, Little League baseball players. Pop Warner football, high school football. I played a year of college football at LA City College off of Vermont after high school while going to the boxing gym. We were athletes, and we couldn't get enough of running around and, bouncing off the walls. My brothers and I, we basically had a baseball team, just us alone. So,
right.
So, I mean, it was more about the competition than it was about, the atmosphere, to tell you the truth, of the boxing gym. I've never really concerned myself with the atmosphere of anything. I mean, to tell you the truth, it's always been about the competition. So, I would have played, I played on empty lots. We played in the street. We played in parks. Anywhere we could get a game going, we would do it. And so when I went to Randy's house, it was, believe me, it was nothing special. But, if I look back on it, I go, it was pretty unique in a sense that I had never been to one before. And, and it was just really the flooring was dirt. And the ring was probably, 10 by 10. I mean, it was just literally a phone booth. And there was nowhere to go in it if you boxed. And that's why Randy got so good. Of course, he went on to turn professional, and then he went on to fight 6 world champions. He fought Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard, Pepino Cuevas, Johnny Bumpus, Milt McCrory, and Wilfredo Benitez. I mean, that's a hell of a lineup. That's Murderer's Row right there. And I was his corner man for all of those fights, along with his father. So I pretty much went.
What I wanted to ask you about that, because you're talking about the gyms, and you said it's not the atmosphere, it's being a competitor. Do you think that's kind of changed now in just the landscape of boxing, where we used to have this saying growing up. My grandfather and my dad used to always say, "Don't chase the money." The money's there. Put in hard work. Learn your craft. Don't chase the money. And you kind of see that with the kids nowadays, in my opinion. You see them chase the money. It's almost a sense like they don't want to have that mentality of being the baddest guy on the block anymore. It's like, I'll be the baddest guy on the block for the biggest amount of money.
Right. No, you're 100% right. I mean, I always told Gabriel and Raphael, I said, I'm going to make you champions. I never told them I was going to make them rich. I just said, I'm going to make you champions. I never even mentioned money. But all I have come over the, to know over the years, one precedes the other. You cannot make money unless you become a champion. So your goal has to be to become champion, because there is no money unless you are a champion. So, I mean, the thing I went after, I'm going to tell you, was the belt. I loved the way the belts looked. I wanted one of those around one of my fighters. And I, in particular, I wanted the WBC belt, because that one I thought looked the best. And to me, that was worth a truckload of, money. Just have, I don't mean that interpreted into money. It was worth more to me than a truckload of money to get that belt. So, because, I had seen it wrapped around so many great fighters, and I go, man, that just looks good around a badass's waist. You know what I mean? And so, and I eventually got a couple of those, and then, but yeah, no, to me, it was all about the competition. I was never one I was not a fan of sports as much as I was more of a fan of boxing than almost any other sport, even though I participated in all the other sports. I never really followed sports like diligently. I'd rather be playing it than, watching it. So, that was just it. So, I mean, but I got to tell you, there was really no atmosphere at Randy's, gym. It was just very rustic and, kind of ordinary, but it served its purpose. And I finished out his amateur career with him. I met him at 15, and he turned pro at 18. So I did 3 years with him as an amateur, and worked out with him and sparred with him. And then by the time he turned pro, I was playing college football, and but I would leave football practice and drive right over to his house and do the gym with him. And look, he and I are best friends to this day. And he probably had 60 pro fights, and I was with him for nearly all of them, almost all of the fights. And I think maybe I missed a couple only because of my wife being pregnant or something like that, having a baby. And I had to pick a team on that one, right?
So becoming a teacher trainer, is that it sounds like it just came out of necessity rather than or correct me if I'm wrong, out of I think I know how to be a boxing trainer. The guy needed a corner man.
No, to be honest with you, I was really always a good organizer in sports. I would always get the games together. I'd get everyone together, whether we were playing street hockey or we were playing pickup games at the park or go down to the Little League field. I always seemed to be getting everyone together. I was the guy that, that was organized in that way, and I would push everybody to get a game going. So in a way, I was kind of always the master of ceremonies. You know what I mean? Sure. And so that kind of served me well because I would take the reins, and I was kind of a pretty good observer of athletics and athletes, and I was pretty good at learning the fundamentals of whatever I did because I wasn't some superlative athlete. I was pretty good, but I was not like some of the guys I played with, I can tell you that, nor was I close to being the athlete that some of my brothers were. So I watched a lot, and I was a good observer. And then, excuse me, and then I would, I could calculate the technique pretty well. And I had a good retention factor going for me. And so I think all of that combined really helped me become a pretty good coach because, like I said, I was organized, I was attentive, I could break down technique, I could see I could always see why a guy was good, what they did. It wasn't like, wow, man, that guy can really hit. I would know why he could hit well, or throw well or whatever it was. I was pretty good at breaking down technique and the fundamental aspects of most sports because I participated in almost all the sports, and I used to try to emulate and copy what the good guys did. So I was a good copycat, I guess is what I'm saying, and that served.
Or you could have been a good bookie, Joe.
No, because then you'd have to pay attention to a lot of other things than just technique, You'd have to do a lot of studying on statistics there, and no, that's not my thing at all. I was into just the athlete and the athletics of it all. So, it came rather easily to me.
Does that initial small ring that you were in, or is that where the inside fighting preference comes from, or specialty comes from? Do you think?
That's a really great question. That's absolutely the truth, yes. Because what I learned is that you couldn't get away from anybody. So, because it was so small, if you take 2 steps, you're across the ring. So you had to learn how to parry, you had to learn how to slip, you had to learn how to turn off of the ropes. You had to be able to, go nose to nose with somebody because, like I say, you took 2 steps and you were on top of somebody there. So it's absolutely a wonderful, great observation on your part. Yeah, it's exactly what happened. Then, of course, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just going to say Ray Woods, Diego's stepdad, had a garage gym that I was in. Real small, same kind of thing. And I was like, so this is where the fighting style comes from. It's not a lot of room.
It's true. That's right. It's true. You really have to learn how to use a lot of defensive skills and counterpunching skills because you have nowhere to go. You can't really use your legs a lot, you know, and except to maybe move left and right rather quickly. But to like say you're going to use the ring, there was no such thing as using the ring, you know, in the sense of what you could do, like in my gym now. You could use the ring because it's, 20 by 20, you know. So, yeah. No, it really is the truth, yeah.
You can tell a lot by how a fight's going to go by the size of the ring, no question. I don't want to keep you all night, man. You've had you on for 20 minutes. I really appreciate just that peek into history. Dave and I both want to ask you about the fight that you called this past weekend. Errol Spence Jr. defending his IBF welterweight title against Mikey Garcia, coming up from a trip to 140, then back to lightweight, and then a jump up to welterweight. What were your impressions of the fight? Who'd you pick going in, by the way?
Well, look, I mean, here's the thing. My line was always this. The bookmakers have the numbers right. Okay?
Yeah.
They have the numbers right. Now, that being said, are the bookmakers wrong sometimes? Yes, they are. Okay? Did Mikey Garcia have the goods to upset the bookmakers and their line and their predictions? That was questionable. But you got to give a guy that's a 4 weight class champion a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. And I think that proved out by the fact that he went the distance. Now, say what you will about a moral victory, not a moral victory, whatever you want to call it. The fact of the matter is he did what a lot of welterweights couldn't do, and that was to last. Now, was that his goal? No. I think his goal was to really get some counterpunching going from a arm's length distance, and that failed. And then, of course, I was saying in the commentary, what Robert Garcia was just about to say, I said it around before. I said he's got to get inside if he's going to get anything accomplished here, or try to at least. He's got to change up the game a little bit, plan B. And Robert said, you got to make your move now, which is saying the same exact thing as what I just said to you. You got to make your move now. You got to get in and do something. So I think it was very frustrating that he, because of his size, I think, and the length of his arms, he just didn't have the ability to reach Errol Spence, whether counter-punching or otherwise. And when he did make his move in, Errol Spence deployed a few tactics in the ring. He just was not a total pressure fighter that night. He was stepping back and counter-punching when Mikey would step in. And he just proved to have an all-around game. I think what he did was he showed that he's very versatile in the ring, Errol Spence. And it became an unfair fight after a while,
Yeah.
And I think the only saving grace for Mikey is that he didn't get stopped and that he was able to finish the fight on his feet. Now, he never got wobbled. He never got dropped. There wasn't a time where you go, except with the exception of the 9th round, I think, when Errol really put a good round together against him when he had Mikey pinned on the ropes. And that's when Robert was contemplating stopping the fight. And to tell you the truth, I was hoping he wouldn't, because I felt Mikey should be given another round or two at least to see if he was going to be able to survive it. Because I don't think any fighter wants to look at their record and see KO'd by,
Right.
And I think Mikey was smart enough and in shape enough to survive an onslaught in 10, 11, and 12, which he did.
You know what I saw in the 9th round?
Yeah.
Joe, you know what I saw in the 9th round?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching it, and after Spence started opening up a bit. He had him against the ropes, started really opening up and landing some body.
Right.
So he was kind of, pain in the brush, going up and down. I saw what his brother saw, which was that finally was like this concern on Mikey's face. It wasn't discouraged, but it was, to me, it almost seemed like he was like, man, I can't seem to do anything right with this guy. I just can't seem to keep
Well,
up with him, and I can't, muscle him off of me.
Well, look, in 39 victories and no defeats with, I think, 30 knockouts, he had never been under such duress before in his life. So it was a brand new experience for him, and it's going to bring out some, it's going to bring out some emotional facial expressions, I would say, unless you're just stone cold, a stone cold killer where you're a robot. But you could see, yes, that where Mikey was feeling it, and I think he got hurt by a pretty good body shot along with the other shots in that round, and the expression did tell a tale, and I think Robert saw that, but Mikey told him he didn't want to stop, so I think he knew he could weather the assault, and he did eventually, and I got to give him credit for that, because he could have packed it and said, you know what, this ain't going nowhere, and I could end up flat on my back, and he didn't do that. So you got to give him really big points for bravery, and I don't think he sustained vicious punishment from thereafter, to tell you the truth. I thought he was pretty evasive. And yeah, you're going to get hit in a boxing match, especially against a guy like Spence, or for that matter, against a guy like Mikey Garcia under normal circumstances. You're going to get hit, and you're going to be hit. So, you're going to hit and be hit. So, it's part of the game. And, in Major League Baseball, if you're 7 runs down, you just don't go, okay, we quit.
Right.
Yeah, you're not getting hit in the head, but it's something about the pride of it all. And finishing on your feet. That's saying something, And I'm not, yeah. Go ahead.
Do you agree with fans that are disappointed because they feel that, Spence had it under control. He was dominating every second, every minute, every round practically.
Practically, I did give Mikey the edge in the second round. That was
the second round. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, same here. But do you agree with fans that they felt let down because Spence didn't take out Mikey Garcia? Like, he didn't go for that. They felt like, a lot of fans that I've spoken to and answered back on our emails, they all felt like, hey, he was the bigger guy. He showed he was the bigger guy, more athletic guy. He should have taken him out. He should have been able to drop him, hurt him.
So
they felt like the performance was kind of held back.
Are you saying that they think Errol Spence took his foot off the gas in 11 and 12?
I think so. I think that's what they're saying.
I doubt that. I doubt that very seriously. Can you imagine one scenario where in Errol Spence's mind he goes, I'm going to carry Mikey Garcia when he tried to tear his head off in 9? I think, I don't think so. I think what happened is Mikey Garcia pulled out every trick in the book to survive.
Yeah.
And,
he did.
Muhammad Ali said it best one time. He goes, it's hard to beat a man when he doesn't want to be beaten, and I think it could apply in a different term here. It's hard to knock out a guy when he's determined not to be knocked out, and he's got the skills to avoid the big punishment. I think he was being touched in those rounds, but Errol could not put together the definitive combinations and trap him in a spot where Mikey was stuck and couldn't move, and then thereby Spence could have unloaded on him, and maybe a referee stepping in or the corner throwing in the towel. Mikey never put himself in that position in those last few rounds. So I think it was more to do with Mikey and his tremendous defensive skills that kept him on his feet and out of the knockout situation. I don't think it had anything to do with Errol Spence, to tell you the truth. I think Errol tried to knock him out, would have loved to have knocked him out, and would have loved to have been able to say he knocked him out. And there's no reason why a guy like Errol Spence, who's a knockout fighter, who knocks out almost everybody he fights, would want that on his record, a decision. Yeah, albeit a runaway unanimous decision. I know just as a coach, I want that knockout. You know, I want it bad, especially if we're winning a fight that easily. I'm going, hey, there's no reason why we can't knock this guy out. Now, put step on the gas and put everything you got into knocking this guy out. Trap him, pin him on the ropes, make the referee stop it. I've done that plenty of times. And I think Errol would have loved to have had that happen, but I just think Mikey was good enough to avoid it. There are guys like that can keep from getting knocked out, even against a bigger, stronger guy.
I think it's fair to say that that's how good he is. I mean, he because what I witnessed was obviously their game plan was to push Spence back, and when they realized, well, that's not going to happen, Mikey reverted on to being trying to be the counterpuncher. He tried to figure something else out, which I don't think they were anticipating that they were going to have to pull out of the back card. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a cat chasing a mouse in that fight.
Yeah, look, I mean, Robert tried a few tactics the other night. He tried a few tactics, and none of it worked. And you could tell that the air came out of the balloon rather early in the fight. Around the 4th, 5th round, it became pretty apparent that it was going to be Errol's fight all the way, and it could even get dicier for Mikey as the fight went on. I think you could tell that by the just the body language and the instructions in the corner of Garcia. I think they knew it was a fait accompli that Errol Spence was going to dominate this fight just by virtue of what we had seen for a few rounds. So, they tried everything and nothing worked. And nothing could work because Errol Spence had answers for everything. He showed himself to be a very intelligent fighter. And I'll tell you the truth, I think this is going to really serve Errol Spence very well. I think it's a great learning experience for him. He's still in his 20s. He's still got a lot of years ahead of him. And, there's very few guys that can go from 135 and go fight a top welterweight and beat him. The last one I remember that could do it and did it with aplomb was, Roberto Duran against Sugar Ray Leonard. Now that was a whole nother animal, Roberto Duran. He possessed something that very few fighters possess. And that was just,
and he established himself too before he even going against Sugar Ray as well.
Pardon me? He what?
He had a few fights at welterweight too.
Yeah.
Before fighting Sugar Ray, kind of.
Well, it would. But I don't even know if that's entirely the crux of it. I think you could prepare yourself any way you want, but when you fight Sugar Ray Leonard at 47 and you're a 35-pounder. I don't care if you had three tune-up fights against, fighter X, Y, and Z. You're fighting Sugar Ray Leonard, one of the greatest fighters that ever laced them up, And then, not only that, then he moved up to 154 a few years later and knocked out Davey Moore, who was just a giant. And, man, he could fight. You look at that Duran Moore fight, you go, wow, any junior middleweight in there. But Duran was just the supreme master puncher, boxer, general in that ring, man. There was nobody like him. And then he went up and he fought Marvin Hagler in 83 to a standstill of 15 rounds. It came down to the last round. Yeah. And then he went up to 6 years later in 1989 and beat Iran Barkley and dropped him at 160. I mean, come on. I mean, that was a 5'7" Duran, okay? 5'7". Yep. All right?
And he didn't retire till 2001.
Right. He had like 45 years in the ring, But I mean, look,
he did knock out a horse.
He is what? Yeah, right. It was a Shetland pony. It was a Shetland, but hey, it was a. Yeah. Look, still, I mean, there's only one guy like Duran. There's never been anybody like him. I'm telling you, there's that string of what I just reeled off right there. I can't think of one other person who could have pulled that off besides Duran. And
And-
he hit hard. He hit hard at 162. It's incredible.
He probably would still be fighting. I think he got in that car wreck, and that's what retired him, not the ring. Yeah, he's a very special.
Yeah, well,
very special.
yeah,
gladiator.
he was. And if I'm not mistaken, did he not win some title at 68? I bet if you check your records, I think he did. He lost to Pazienza, but he beat someone else at 68 for a title.
Let's see. Yeah, super middleweight. No, he lost to Ray Leonard.
Right,
Sure,
but he
super
beat
middleweight.
somebody at 68.
Yeah, I'm like looking at it now.
And?
Vacant. I'm not seeing him actually win a 68, but I feel like you're right, though.
Well, yeah. Well, he had you got a long way to look because he had 120 for whatever it was, Yeah, but it was.
Oh, there it is.
Even if he, what?
No, there's Iran Barkley, and then the next fight is against Leonard after Barkley for the 168-pound title, and he lost that one.
Right. Yeah, I know that. That was their third fight. I was at that fight. I nicknamed that fight "One Couldn't and One Wouldn't."
That's brutal. Let me ask you this.
Right.
Looking at the welterweights now, Dave wanted to ask you about this. Really, the overall, there's all these different universes now with the different streaming apps and the networks.
Yeah.
The fight everybody wants to see is Crawford Spence Jr. Terrence Crawford has the WBO. Everybody thinks he's the guy. Errol Spence is the IBF. But Spence is with Al Heyman, and in that Fox, Showtime, PBC universe, there's Sean Porter at the WBC, and Pacquiao and Thurman sharing the WBA title. Are there just too many fights for Errol Spence in his own universe for us to even think about the Crawford fight?
I've thought about that, and I got to tell you, excuse me, Terrence Crawford is a great fighter, and it would be a great fight, but it's not the only great fight out there for Spence. And I had this discussion with somebody yesterday. I said, who I would really like to see, but he'd have to be at peak form. He was out for a while with injuries. He fought and he had a fair performance against Josecito Lopez with Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman at his best is a highly intelligent fighter in that ring, and he hits hard enough to get your respect at 47. Something that Mikey just didn't have. He didn't have the power to get respect, and not that he's and again, Thurman's not that much bigger than Mikey in a sense,
Yeah.
But he is a stronger guy at that weight. I like if Thurman in 110% shape, I would love to see that fight. Because why? Because Kell Brook Kell Brook he's not a tall guy, but he's a strong guy. And he won that first half of that fight against Spence. And I think Thurman is just as intelligent, but I think he's very strong as well. I would love to see that fight, Thurman and Spence, for something to this popped into my head. Now, I think it's going to be Pacquiao for the looks of it, right? I mean, doesn't it look like it to you that they're going to go with Pacquiao? And if I were Spence,
Oh, just that
What's that?
Porter did the same thing that Pacquiao did after Spence's last fight, and I thought that fight was next, and then this fight happened. But yeah, it looks like Pacquiao. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's a great fight for Pacquiao in the terms of money. I think Spence, I think he'd be the favorite, and with good reason. And it's going to be an incredible payday for Spence. So why wouldn't he want to get that up front right now and get it out of the way?
Right.
Put some good bank in there. It's an intriguing fight to a certain degree. I would favor Spence, which I think will probably be the case if you look at the lines that are going to go up on it. And then everybody else can have the next shot at it. But I think Pacquiao's got X amount of time. He's got to fight somebody that can generate a real box office. because that's why he's still around right now. And he'll give it his best shot, Pacquiao. And I think it's a good fight for Spence for money and prestige and being the favorite. So I think it's a win-win for Spence right now. I really do. It's the most money he's going to make. Maybe it's going to be the most he'll ever make, against Pacquiao.
Right.
I don't know if he'll ever be able to make that type of payday again. So I think it could be an interesting fight. I would favor Spence, like I said, and it would be a big, big, big event. Let me tell you, if they got 50,000 out there for Mikey Garcia and Spence, imagine what Pacquiao and Spence would do in that same arena. I mean, it would probably be 75,000 people there. So,
no question.
Yeah, and then the pay-per-view revenue would be huge, huge, huge. I mean, why not? Why not? These guys got to make money too. They're going in there, and this is a very, very dangerous, brutal sport. This isn't baseball or football. This is boxing, and guys get rendered unconscious, and it's not good for you necessarily. You know what I mean? And why not capitalize on it when you can? Because these opportunities to capitalize on something like this are rare and far and few between, and very few fighters get to reap this type of benefit. There's good money out there for champions, but the extraordinary type of money is rare. And if you have put yourself in a position to be able to capitalize on that, well then, God bless you. Go ahead and go for it. I can't blame you. And
Absolutely.
I on top of the fact that it could be a very intriguing fight.
Yeah, it could be.
Because the other thing I'm going to add to it is that Pacquiao is a southpaw. See, and that throws a certain wrench against the southpaw. Southpaws are geared; their whole gig is geared towards right-handers. See, and they thrive off of. They're used to them, and right-handers aren't used to southpaws. Conversely, but two southpaws in there, it opens up other opportunities for one or the other, because it's a unique situation for them. They don't normally fight southpaw to southpaw, especially at this weight. So when that could be a little bit of a benefit to Pacquiao since he's got the experience factor. But all the other factors I think kind of lean towards Spence, youth, size, speed, even though Pacquiao's still pretty quick, I think that gives Pacquiao a little bit more of an edge than some of the, regular right-handers out there that would go against Spence.
Yeah, definitely. I think the rounds would be way more competitive, and I think that fans will finally get the KO that they were hoping that they were going to get on Saturday against like Pacquiao, because Pacquiao will engage and not let off.
Oh yeah.
He won't retreat.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
And let me throw this in before you go on to your next question, if I might. The other thing is Pacquiao has proven he can beat bigger guys. He's done it. He beat De La Hoya. He beat Margarito. So he's beaten bigger guys. This is not, it's not like he hasn't been in there with big guys. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say that he's almost like probably fresher than, say, a similar challenge, not same stances, but Pernell Whitaker fighting Felix Trinidad, who had the same belt, actually, the IBF welterweight belt. I think that happened before the De La Hoya fight. But kind of that aging champion, you want that experience if you're Errol Spence. You want to be in the ring with a guy like that, hopefully get the big win. But Pacquiao coming into the PBC universe, like he's a valuable scalp for all those guys who are kind of looking for that flagship win. Pacquiao, Spence, I'd watch. I love southpaw power punchers. That's my jam. So,
what's that? Say it again. You like what?
Southpaw
David?
power punchers.
Oh yeah. Well, I've had a few left-handed champions, and believe me, I have an old saying: I love training them, I hate fighting them. Yeah, they've got a 30% built-in advantage right off the rip. Southpaws do.
My first trainer in Sacramento was a guy at the Washington Neighborhood Center, Don Connolly, who trained Tony Lopez and Loretta Garza as well. And the first thing he asked me was line up, and I naturally line up as a southpaw, and he's like, no, flip around, and refused. He was like, just don't want to deal with southpaw. Just no one likes southpaws. We're training you right-handed. He was very old school about it.
Yeah, well, there was a day southpaws couldn't get fights.
Right.
Yeah, that's what he said. That it's just like, you can't. Just no point in being one.
It wasn't no point in being one. Promoters, managers didn't want to put their fighters in against them, so most left-handers were forced to turn right-handed, like De La Hoya.
And Winky Wright.
De La Hoya. Right? What's that?
And Winky Wright as well, right?
Well, I mean, quite possibly. I don't know, but I know De La Hoya was the southpaw.
Right.
And he that's why his left hook was so devastating. But back then, it was hard to get fights. You rarely. I kind of grew up in the old Olympic auditorium era in the '60s. And you rarely saw southpaws. Rarely, they just didn't exist in a lot of ways. But again, they're difficult to fight because it's a mere opposite image of what you normally see as a right-hander, and everything that comes from one direction comes from the other direction now, and it's just very confusing. And when you go up against southpaws, even today, even though there are more southpaws than ever before. As a right-hander, you spar with, normally in the gym, you spar with a lot of right-handers, and left-handers spar with right-handers every day. And so, they have right-handers down pat, and you don't as a right-hander against a left-hander. So if you are going to fight a left-hander in a big fight, you've got to really do a crash course. You've got to bring in some left-handed sparring, which is hard to get. And then you got to have to learn in camp how to fight them if you haven't fought. Most people only have a couple southpaw fights on their record if you have 30, 40 fights. It's going to be a couple.
That's
Everyone
true.
else are right-handed. So you've got to do a crash course. So if you're going to fight a good southpaw in a big fight, they're usually really good, and then on top of it, they're southpaws. You've got to really learn how to fight them in the gym because you've hired them, not because you see them every day in the gym and spar with them.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So it's you go in with such a disadvantage. That's why I say love training them, hate fighting them. Because most of my fighters are right-handed, But the left-handers I've had, almost every left-hander I've had has become a world champion.
Let me ask you this, Joe. Let me ask you this. This is my last question for you.
Yeah.
But there's a fighter that is making a comeback that's been off for 5 years. And when he left, he was having a really good run, made tons of money, but now he's returning. As a trainer, I wanted to ask you.
Madonna.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think about that? Is that something that you advise somebody that's been off the radar for 5 years, has blown up, looks like a cruiserweight, but is talking about coming down as a welter? What is your thoughts as a trainer? If you were up to that task, would you take that task?
Look, if you're a 22-year-old and now you're 26, 27, and, you had made some great strides up to you were 22, 23-year-old, like I did with Frankie Duarte. Duarte retired at 22. I got him back at, 20, maybe 20. Hold on, he got him back at 28. He probably retired at 23. He was out for 4 or 5 years, and I got him back, and I got him to number 1 in the world, and then he fought for the world title against Bernardo Pugnango in the mid-'80s. As I look back on it, I go, wow, why did I even take that? How did I even do that with him? Because it was, now as I look back on it, I go, I would never do that again. Jeez, that was, we had to have 11, 12 comeback fights before we got back into the big time. But I guess the point is with a guy like Maidana, here's the thing. How old is he right now? 36? What is he? 35?
36.
How old is he?
He's 36.
36. Okay. He's 36. He retired at 31. Man, it's one thing if you're a big guy, if you're a heavyweight, but if you're, guys in if you're a guy in those middle divisions, that's still a speedy division, and it's, I'll tell you, it's tough to do. And then I'd have to know why he wants to come back. I mean, if it's a money issue, boy, that's the wrong reason, And then, it's hard to get somebody. It's hard to recapture your youth when you're 36 years old. I can say that. If you're in your 20s and you make that move, you got a fighting chance. And in your 30s, your mid-30s, it's tough. I'm going to say that would be a very, very hard call for me. Now, he was an exceptional athlete, exceptional puncher, and he, had some great fights out there, and he's a memorable fighter. So that might be maybe some rationale you could use to make that happen, the comeback. But I'll tell you, it's very tenuous for me. I would have that would take a lot of thinking. On the face of things, I'd probably say I wouldn't encourage it.
Right.
But who am I to tell a man? Who am I to tell a man he can't work if he wants to?
Exactly. Yeah. No,
so,
I agree with you.
So somebody will probably take that job, and I wouldn't blame them if they did, because I'm sure somebody will use him, and if he gets back into shape and shows that he can recapture some of that style that he had and the vigor in the ring, well, then maybe he could prove everyone wrong. But on the face of things, that's a tough pull right there. Tough.
Do you think it's equally as dangerous? I mean, obviously Mikey Garcia, he already got his taste as welterweight, and I believe he's gonna go back down to where he was more, more dominant as a lightweight. Do you think it's equally as dangerous? I mean, because he bulked up a lot for this fight,
That was a one-time thing. It was a one-time thing, and he didn't bulk up too much. Well, what did he weigh in on that second weigh-in when they do that weigh-in? How much did he go up? How many pounds?
Yeah, 152.
I think it was 152.
What was it?
Like 152.
Okay, that's not really bulking up. Okay, that's probably, he probably walks around heavier than that, in his off time when he's vacationing. So I mean, if he were to fight at 140, which I think is suitable for him, I mean, you're talking 12 pounds.
Right.
That's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. It's, guys like, you're probably carrying around 5 pounds of water weight on you every day anyway.
Yeah. You put on like 3 pounds or lose weight, I think, overnight, right? But I mean, yeah,
sure.
He just didn't go through the barbaric weight making.
No. The problem comes in where when you start talking about doing damage to your system is when you really balloon up, and then you really take 30, 40 pounds off, then you balloon up. Now you start messing with the system there, and that's a lot more damaging. He just went up. He went up, basically, from being a 140-pound champion, he went up, 7 pounds to welterweight, and then 12 pounds after his food and drink. That's nothing.
Right.
That's nothing. He could lose that in 3 weeks. Yeah. So and then he was probably taking supplements and power drinks and all that. You lay off all of that stuff. You go back to the natural. Just your regular diet. And you start getting in the hot gym, doing your running, and taper down. He'd probably fight at 35, 40 again easily.
You're not lifting heavy weights anymore and doing Olympic power lifts or whatever.
Right, all that stuff. That was a temporary look for Mikey. That's not something that he's going to, I think, continue down that path of bulking up, and doing that. I think he's going to, like you said, go back down to 40, 35, which I think he can make rather easily. 40 for sure, 35 most likely. But and that's where he belongs. He's the right height and size for it. His physique is not a big frame. He just doesn't have a big frame.
Well,
and there you have it.
Joe, it's been great, man. You gave us so much time, and it's such a valuable commodity, and you educated, and I love your point of view. I'm really enjoying you and Lennox. I think it's a great dynamic having a fighter and a trainer right next to him, and that two people that are just Hall of Famers that bring so much experience. It's really nice, man. You guys, you're gelling. It's really cool stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, we're just getting going. We got a lot of shows ahead of us.
Sure.
And Lennox and myself, we're both feeling a lot more comfortable as the show goes by, and I really appreciate Lennox. Look, he was one of the great champions. I say what you want. Lennox Lewis dominated the heavyweight division for a decade, and I mean, that's an impossible thing. Try doing that. I mean, it's impossible. And
he's our link to
he's such a great too. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, I love Manny. He was the best. Let me tell you, he was a fun guy, and Manny was highly intelligent, high IQ. He was just a great guy. He was pleasant to be around, always smiling, always joking. He was one of a kind. You'll never see another guy like Manny, I can tell you that. And how many great champions did he bring to the table? So, Manny Stewart, and I even asked. I said, was Manny a great trainer? He goes, oh, man, he was the best. So, I just 2 nights ago I asked him about Manny. It's funny. I already knew the answer. I just wanted to hear Lennox say it, what he really had to say. And Lennox, let me tell you something. I get along really, really well with him, and we spend a lot of time together when we're on the road. Because he is a fighter and I'm a trainer. I know how to talk turkey with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it translates.
So,
yeah,
I'm comfortable around fighters, that's for sure, and he's comfortable around boxing trainers, and so we get along great. And I just think he's really gonna. I think when everything's said and done, Lennox will really be masterful at what he's doing right now, just like he mastered boxing. Let's face it, Lennox has always been a very kind of shy, soft-spoken guy. I think he's come out of his shell a lot since the first show, and it's not hard to get me to talk, that's for sure. But
come out of the blanket,
so
you mean?
You're right, to come out of the blanket, and I think Lennox is really enjoying himself now. See, we're getting a lot of feedback, and I can't wait to work with him again. I just think he's very knowledgeable, about the sport. He's been in it. He won a gold medal. He controlled the heavyweight division for 10 years. This guy knows boxing. So
he sparred young Tyson, and then he beat old Tyson. He was on Joe Rogan recently, and he seems much more comfortable in front of the camera and talking now more than ever. And so I'm looking forward to it. And you guys have a lot of good fights to call coming up.
Yeah,
good welterweight.
Yeah,
action.
I can't wait. I really love doing it. It's funny because I love, when I'm watching a fight, whether it's on TV or in person, I'm always breaking it down in my mind or verbally. If somebody's sitting around, I can chew their ear off. So, this is something I really like to do, and I'm thankful that I got the job with Fox. Believe you me, I'm really thankful for it. So, because
awesome.
there's a lot of great voices and minds out there, and I'm thankful to get it.
Well, we'll reach back out to you, man, as the year moves on and as we get closer to fights. We'd love to hear your take. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, anytime. You called me today and asked me to do the show, and I jumped on it, Gabe. And David, I'm always willing to do it because I love the sport and I love the fact that you guys love it as much as I do. You're just in a different department, as they say, and
exactly.
we all try to make it better, and I love it, and I'm going to do it till somebody yanks the chain on me. But so I love going to the gym, and I love going to the fights, and I love calling the fights, and I hope I can continue to do it for a number of years. We'll see.
Well, we look forward to seeing you, man, and hearing you all the time.
All right. Well, listen, call me anytime, you guys, and continued success, and I hope to run into you guys soon at one of these events. All right.
Absolutely.
All right, Gabe, David, I'm going to get back to the last couple innings and watch my grandson hit a home run out here in left field where I'm sitting right now.
There you go, man. All right, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. Really appreciate it. Take care, Joe.
Thank you. See you guys.
There you go. The great Joe Goosen on Leaving the Ring. He's a great guest. You know, you can't argue with a Hall of Famer, first off. You can't argue with a legendary trainer. He hasn't been inducted, has he, to the Hall of Fame? Because he should.
He hasn't been, but he will be.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say to call him a Hall of Fame trainer already because, he's got a lot of champions under his belt.
He might be in the Southern California Hall of Fame. I'd have to check, because there's, or the California Hall of Fame. Hey, let's take some callers. Well, some people dropped off during or after that, but we got 45 minutes to go. I like to say that he agreed with my take.
Yeah.
On the spot.
That's why I said you can't argue with him, man. He's got a much more keen eye than the fans that are sitting back and watching. And to anybody, you can't argue with somebody that's been there, that made tough decisions while in a fight. So.
Though I think that we would get more out of Errol Spence if he fought more than he has, and I think more people will be buzzing about it,
But there's something that he said though that I was like, I didn't look at it at that angle, which is he got more out of fighting Garcia. Because one thing about Garcia is he is an intelligent fighter. And that quote that he used about that Ali said, it's hard to beat a man that doesn't want to get beaten. So I think with Spence Jr. walking away from this fight, I know some fans are not going to, they're not going to agree, or they are going to agree, or hopefully change their mind. But it's, fight fans are very stubborn. But I think that he learned a lot in terms of he had basically had a guy that retreated, and he had to mix it up in other aspects. He had to do a little something different, which an eye like Joe Goosen caught right away. And and that's what I'm saying. He has a much more keen eye than we do because he's worked with fighters for decades, and he's been surrounded by fighters. His family, so he has much more of an educated eye than I think. You put him in the room with a bunch of us, trust me, he's Einstein, right? So how do you argue with him?
I am there. Hello?
Okay. Yes.
You ready, you callers?
Yeah, let's patch in a caller. Here on Leaving the Ring, call in 347-215-7598. Let's talk some boxing here on Leaving the Ring. We just had Joe Goosen. If you missed the interview, you can catch it back a little later on today when it goes up on Blog Talk, Audio Boom, Spotify, and Podbean. And we're up on YouTube.
Yeah. Wherever you get your podcast, probably the podcast app, all of it. We're everywhere now. That's kind of crazy. How connected we actually are. 787, you're live on Leave It in the Ring.
Yo, what up?
What up, Rob?
Hey. That beating Mikey gave me a headache.
Oh, man. Look, I don't know about anybody else, but I needed the fight stop.
Yeah, I just felt like watching that, watching Mikey look like he's moving through mud, and Errol Spence just kind of gave Mikey the driver's seat and was okay with wherever Mikey took the fight. It was kind of like, it just showed how much control, and I don't think Mikey was prepared for that style that Errol brought out. I think he was prepared for a more aggressive. I think that's why he went with that build that he had that you guys commented on earlier. I think he was ready to fight in the pocket because I guess he just might have thought he couldn't resist it.
It's also what happens when we Mexicans lift weights. We just get thick like that. I don't know. Were they working on? I just didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't
man, like,
see the body match the game plan. Well, maybe I haven't watched it twice yet. I need to. I'm trying to figure out what his plan was. Like besides,
and I didn't want to watch it once. Yeah, that was tough.
It was.
Yeah,
after
but,
the sixth round, I was just like, all right, man, something's got to happen. Like, Mikey, come on, man, do something, you know.
After the fourth, dude. After the fourth, I was like, this could enter into like Yori Boy Campos, Felix Trinidad territory. I'm like, is that the kind of puncher that Spence is? You know, is it going to end up like that, where Mikey's just won't go off his feet, but is just absorbing punishment? And it was. I mean, it went 12 rounds, and that 10th round, I'd have been fine if his corner had said, you know, we took the challenge, but, you know, there's no reason. We know we're not going to make it to the summit, you know. We're not going to knock this guy out.
Though. They didn't.
Yeah.
You know what? They didn't want to
honestly,
end up on memes and stuff, you know.
I think honestly, yeah. Like, I think that actually holds some truth, because you got to remember there was a lot of talk of Mikey fighting Lomachenko after this fight, regardless of winning or losing. And I think that they just didn't want to throw the towel in, because that wouldn't have boded so well for the promotion of the Lomachenko fight. Whereas right now you can kind of say, well, he went the distance with Errol, you know, so he didn't get stopped. And, you know, you can kind of like look at it like at a face value of that, but I just didn't. Like, I found myself asking, like, what were the game plans? And I feel like a lot of fighters these days aren't like the older fighters, where older fighters had a game plan they were trying to get to, and they were trying to condition you to fit that plan. And if it didn't work out that way, they had backup plans. But I just didn't see it in Mikey. He kind of just sat there. Like, he kind of just sat there and took it.
You know, Rob, I think they had a game plan, and that game plan was to get in that inside. But you know, it's one you got to remember. They're using bigger gloves in training camp. They're bringing in sparring partners that they're trying to mimic whatever style they think they're going to face, and they got headgear. Well, all that changes though on fight night, and I think when you finally feel that punch from the bigger guy, that it changes everything. Because Mikey was kind of, he was reluctant, you know. He did try to make things work. Yeah, you know what I mean, and he would throw the left hook, but you notice he never finished it with anything. Like, he didn't want to stay there long enough to see if he could, you know, slide in a straight right or anything like that. He'd throw the left hook while he was trying to back away, because he didn't want to get caught what Spence was going to throw. So, you know, his face was pretty marked up. And, I had told Gail before we got on the air, I said, hey, man, I told you that he was gonna really stop Spence from throwing body shots. And the reason was because, he never decided to trade with him. He backed up. You know, he retreated the whole time. So that's why Spence really didn't throw a lot of body shots.
Yeah, I think it was also that he was just so easy to hit to the head too. Like, I don't think a lot of guys are like. And if you're confident in your cardio, most guys who are confident in the cardio aren't going to take the body over easy headshots all day, because it's just concussive impact is just not. They're just going to take that all the time. But I don't know where, like, the Crawford fight is interesting for Sparrow next, but
it's
with
just not on the table.
With Maidana coming back, I wholeheartedly believe we're gonna see Keith Thurman fight Maidana long before we see Spence and Crawford get in the ring. Or Thurman and anybody.
Joe's answer to my question said everything, and I'm not, denigrating Joe, but I asked him about that fight, and he just said, let's talk about the Pacquiao fight. And that tells you all you need to know. Like, there's so many fights for Errol Spence within the PBC universe. They didn't talk about Errol Spence on that broadcast, or Terrence Crawford on that broadcast. They don't need to. It's not brand they're selling. They're not selling boxing. They're selling you the PBC. And
Mhm.
like the UFC,
places are
they're
selling-
trying to make it so that you got to be in there if you want to be. I mean, that's a big, we'll see what the numbers are. It should have been on Fox, that fight. I just think that's the smarter play.
Yeah.
But they also got to get paid whatever they were getting paid. But somebody's got to work something
These
out.
guys are selling you experiences. Like it's like they're trying to. It's like their theme parks. Like they're trying to sell you an experience. The Zone, ESPN, Fox. All these guys are like trying to just promote a brand instead of this, and they forget that it's a sport. These fights have to happen in order for the sport to ultimately thrive. You let it sit too long, and the wars are going to dry up. So I mean, know.
Honestly, I've been doing podcasting. I've been writing since, I haven't written in a long time. It's now kind of catching up with each other. The amount of time I've brought a podcast and been a writer, like since 2006. It's hard to cover it all, even being a guy who's been a job about it. 4 different sanctioning bodies with 4 different rankings, and then you got like groups like the Transnational Ratings Board that have their own rankings, and the Ring has their rankings, and so does Fight News and ESPN. Well, actually, Fight News just compiles, but ESPN has their own, whatever. It's a lot to cover, and why are fights happening? Like you never really know anymore. You hope that Pacquiao Spence is where they're going, and that the PBC is going, all right, we're going to do storylines, and this is the way to find out when they're happening is this, buy the pay-per-view. I don't know. I wish we were headed towards the league. I know we always kind of come back to that. It just seems like a smarter way for it all to work. I probably should have asked Joe about that. I just didn't know how much time we had him for, and but we'll get to it in the future. I don't think that's he's an announcer with is a great position. I don't know, asking him like political questions is really the thing, But anyways, I digress. Is there anything else on your mind, Rob? How's the island right now?
Well, I mean, I'm leaving soon. I'm moving to Florida by the end of the year, but good now. I mean, it's just getting hot because the summertime's nearing.
But in terms of recovery, how is it?
I mean, my area was. I mean, I kind of went out during the storm, like when it was still passing over the island, but it was when the eye had already passed over my area, and I recorded a lot of it. But the damage was mostly hardest in like the mountainous villages and stuff like that. Around my area, we recovered, and we could sustain fairly decently. I think I was without electricity for like 6 months, maybe, something like that.
Oh wow.
It wasn't that bad. I mean, I didn't care. Whatever. I just got fat.
That's funny.
Oh man. Right on, Rob.
I was on my Madonna stuff.
Huh?
I was on my Madonna stuff.
You were
Madonna
on the
diet.
Madonna diet. Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Right,
you're obviously a hardcore boxing fan because you're calling into this show. This weekend we got like Thursday, March 21st. We got the Avalon show, Mercito Hesta, in Hollywood versus Juan Antonio Rodriguez. There's a fight in support. Then Saturday night, ESPN. It's got that fight you've been dying for at the hangar in Costa Mesa, California. Kubak Pulev versus Bogdan Dinu, heavyweights. Jesse Magdaleno, Rico Ramos, which is actually going to be a good scrap, and a couple other bouts. And then also in London, you're going to have, I think this is maybe DAZN. Basically, yeah. And then you've got Fox Sports 1. There's also another card. It's just like nonstop boxing. Do you watch all that as a boxing fan? Or do you pick and choose? Because you got Lamont Peterson versus Sergey Lipinets on Sunday, which might actually be the fight of the weekend.
I think that's going to be the fight of the week, in my opinion. That's the fight that I'm going to tune in to watch live. The other ones, it's just, to me, it's DVR stuff. But
what do they think we do?
I mean,
we're going to watch all that.
It's overwhelming when like all these like different promoters and different like companies broadcast at the same exact time. But if there's a card in the UK, which usually comes on midday, noon my time, I'll watch it regardless of who's fighting. And if there's another card at midnight, I'll watch that too. But mostly I just try to keep on like prospects that are about to peak, because I realize that boxing has like peak points now. So I just try to keep those prospects at peak. Some guys I lose track of, and I just find out that they lost like 3 fights in a row randomly, and I'm just like, whoa. But yeah.
Yeah, I've always been kind of a welterweight to actually I do like the lightweights, but I really welterweight. I try to keep watching divisions. That's how I've kind of narrowed it down. Like, welterweight, middleweight have been my traditional. Think it's but as a writer, it's like really it was like who's not covering who that week. Steve would always get first pick, or he just had his certain guys, and then you kind of get the rest of the week, and that was kind of how my interest was going for a while. Plus with Dave, like whoever Dave would decide would be a guest, or who we'd decide would be a guest. That's kind of how it gets skewed.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I'm watching heavyweight right now, pretty close. Heavyweight is for me like
it's hot.
Yeah, this is the best it's been in years, so I'm just gonna soak it up while it's hot.
Right.
So.
Who do you like of the younger guys?
Is Anthony Yard's heavyweight, right? Or is that how you pronounce his name?
No, I thought he's light heavyweight.
He's a light.
Okay, light heavyweight.
Yeah. He's
okay. Well, there's
that
that British guy that I think he just got a unanimous decision over Severn.
Oh, Joe Joyce.
Yeah, Joe Joyce. That's his name. That's that guy. Yeah, his last name is always throws me off. I like him a lot. I like the way they're moving him too. Like they're looking to really step him up. They know what he's capable of. They're confident in him. I like seeing that in fighters today. So some guys like that. Britain just has a lot of. The UK just has a lot of fighters now that are coming up in the heavyweight division that are interesting.
Daniel Dubois. I like him.
Yeah, Dubois.
Yeah,
he had
I like
that
him
scary
a lot.
knockout like last year, I think, too. Early last year, he had that scary knockout with that guy. Yeah.
And Effie Ajagba.
Really
you want to see scary knockouts. Effie Ajagba, that guy, Nigerian. They're both 6'5". I just think that could be that matchup down the line could be fire. But they're going to be a problem for people. But they're like at 10 fights. But those are my two guys that I'm pegging for danger later. But well, cool, man. Thanks for checking in with us. You got any picks this weekend?
Yeah.
Anything?
No, I'm probably just gonna peek into the Lamont Peterson fight just to see where he's at and see if he's gonna move on or maybe call it. But that's about it. But it was fun. It was fun talking to you guys again. So I'll just keep listening to the show, see what the other girls got to say.
All right, brother.
Good interview too.
Cool. Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Joe's the best. All right, man. Peace. Let's go 5. What? What'd you say?
I was gonna say, for the heavyweight division, man, what I'm waiting for to see is another Joe Macy. Messi. But
Baby Joe
Messi,
Macy, is that your guy?
Yeah, Macy. He wasn't, but for a guy that was, who was short-statured, had a big punch, was reckless, didn't box very well. I mean, he made up some good fights. There was some exciting fights. Yeah, was unfortunate.
He thought he was going to be the next Tommy Morrison.
Dude, he thought he was going to be the next Rocky Marciano. That's what he was hoping for.
Yeah, he thought it was going to be King Kong. Ended up more like Mighty Joe Young.
So really quick, I was going to say before
that?
we pass to another caller here, just for the tweets that were asked of us or comments. Azteca 604 question: what was better for Mikey, the 1 minute in the second round where he got in some shots, or the ring walk with the dancers and the live banda? What was better for you there, Gabriel?
Wow, that's mean, man. I'm trying not to be cynical about the fight, but I just kind of was like, maybe it's just turning it too much into a Rocky movie. But if you're like Rocky, your whole body's shot, so let's build some hurting bombs, and they design a program around it. Or he's in Russia, so here's a barn that you're going to train in. And like, all right, fine. And he starts lifting logs and running up mountains, and his fight kind of reflects those things. Training with Apollo. I think they came out to L.A. or whatever, running on the beach and all that, and his fight reflects that. What was Mikey's, training montage like? Because
that would have been, yeah.
Because his fight, like his body, like what was the game plan? Like what were they trying to accomplish?
They were trying to accomplish exactly what you were saying was, and I think you were thinking of Rocky VI when he was going to fight Antonio Tarver. Remember, your bones are hurting. You got arthritis in your bones now, so we need some crunching big hits.
Your knees are shot. Your elbows have got arthritis. Your wrists.
You got yellow on your teeth, but
are calcified.
I like both. Let me just to answer his question really quick. I like both the Banda and the second round. So I'm not handling neither one of them and stuff. But boxing
they both
ain't
took
easy.
Me back.
Boxing ain't easy. Tweeted out. He said we all knew the outcome of this fight, but Spence won by boxing. That jab to the head and body is lethal. The fight did not produce the best pound for pound, in my opinion. Garbage undercard. I agree with you. Both of your outlook of the fight. The jab was the it factor. It was the star of the main event. But you're right. I don't think it produced a pound for pound where some folks are trying to sell it to us. But it did produce that Spence is a lot smarter than we thought. I think he matured a lot more for this fight. You were expecting him to make some kind of youthful mistakes, and he didn't. He stayed to a game plan. He had a game plan, which Mikey and them didn't really seem to have. And I agree with you on the undercard. It wasn't very good. It wasn't entertaining. Even though Chris the Nightmare, who I've always been a fan of, he went out there and he did beat an undefeated fighter that I don't even know who he was, Pierre. So that was okay. Let me read out another tweet really quick before we.
Let me throw this at you though.
Go for it.
But Mikey and Spence and pound for pound, and again, like look at Mikey. He unified with Robert Easter, but he didn't. There's still the rest of the division to be reckoned with at 135. He's got belts at 126 as well. I have to, and did he ever unify though? And I find that to be more exciting, more a show of substance, because I say this because it's like this fight was the first time that both guys had, the first time that Mikey was not favored to win in a fight, right?
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Errol still has been favored in every fight that he's been in. Maybe the Kell Brook fight was close, even odds. I thought he was the favorite in it. But maybe that's the one fight. That's his test fight for Spence. But that's it. Can't really. It's like when you look at. I'm looking at the rings pound for pound top 10. Vasyl Lomachenko is 1. Terrence Crawford's 2. Canelo's 3. Usyk is 4. Spence is 5. Triple G is 6. Inouye is 7. Sorungasai is 8. Mikey Garcia is 9. And Donnie Nietes is 10. How many of those guys have won fights that they weren't supposed to win?
If anybody, I don't know. I'm not really a big pound for pound guy because I think it's just.
But you know what I mean? Like I'm just asking,
right.
What's our standard for greatness at this point?
But out of all of them, me personally, the one that really does belong there, that in my opinion would be Usyk. I don't think a lot of guys thought he was going to win that super series. He was going in with Breedis, who's a big puncher. So, but I completely agree with you, and I think that's why it's so easy to tear down the pound for pound list, and it's so easy to pick at it and throw the criticism. To me, the pound for pound list has become a popularity contest. It's like who gets, they're looking at the numbers. Like we got a guy right now asking Mike Rios, 222, information on total number of pay-per-view buys. I'm not a number guy. I don't pay attention to that. And to tell you the truth, I don't even think the numbers are out. It's too early, too soon right now for those numbers to be tallied.
Are they going to have to release those numbers? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's another thing. They really sometimes don't. If they do really poor, the promoters.
I'll tell you
tend
this
to
right
hide
now. I'm not a beat reporter anymore. Knowing, I'll be surprised if someone calls me and says, "Hey, guess what the pay-per-view numbers are?" Maybe some anti-doping stuff. Like if you follow my Twitter, there was like several stories going about VADA that we, did we touch on them this last week, or maybe we forgot to? But
we forgot. Right.
Yeah, it's all right. Still don't really know. Well, anyways, we'll just move on. But that's still break those. But the pay-per-view numbers, that was never my thing anyway. So yeah, maybe Kevin Ioli will break it on his Instagram.
This is interesting. I'll tell you this. I tweeted out, "Who do you want Spence Jr. to fight next?" And I mean, it was like what, about an hour or so, no more, 2 hours ago. But Pacquiao, Porter, and Thurman are 11% of the pick, and 67% is still Crawford. People want to see that Spence cross the street or Crawford, cross that street to face each other. I mean, it's still the hot commodity fight for fans that want to tune in and watch.
Well, everybody wants him to fight Thurman. They've got that beef, but I don't think Keith wants it next. I don't think so Spence would want it. I think Spence would go Pacquiao next.
The dollar signs all point to Pacquiao, as Goosen had mentioned. I mean,
he even said, he was like, "Hey Manny, come back here."
Right.
Like he called his shot.
And
And Manny's
blame
just
the
like,
kid.
"Sure, why not?"
Right.
That's
you
Manny.
Can't blame the kid. Yeah, you really can't even blame him because, like I said, he's a living legend, and he brings huge numbers. And Manny's always been that guy that's willing to, go for that greatness. I mean, Manny can retire, and there's no argument on that. There's not going to be no qualm about him retiring because he fought all the who's and wins of his time. And like Goosen said, is like, hey, it's the dream of a kid to make these quadruple amount of bundle of money that goes in your bank account. You dream of the title, but you also dream of the large amount of money, and where are you going to get that? And it'd probably be the highest pay for him, right? It's going to be the biggest pay for him. So yeah, you're going to go after Manny, and then you're going to hold off. And I think that's what Thurman's at too, man. Think about it. I mean, Thurman's not rushing to face Spence. I think he's trying to,
Well, yeah. Errol Spence, he's got the IBF number 1 and 2 is not even rated right now. Number 3 is Jesse Vargas, who's busy. Number 4 is Kutratio Abdukaksarov. Yeah. Dude, you say that name. Look it up and you say that name.
I'm not going to even attempt that, man.
No,
you sound like the rooster that's here in the backyard in my house. By my house, the neighbor dude has a rooster. I'm like, "Kukako!" Right? I don't know if you guys can hear him, but this freaking rooster doesn't know that you're only supposed to crow in the morning, roost in the morning, man. But the bastard does it all freaking day. Scared the shit out of my compadre that came over this weekend. My compadre thought that somebody was yelling in the backyard, dude. He freaked out. And he's like, "Dude, why in the hell?" He goes, "Why in the hell did you move out here to the sticks, bro? This is freaking crazy. You got a rooster, like a live rooster right there." Hilarious, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think, maybe, I don't think there should be a mandatory due, but there apparently isn't. There's, so yeah, I think Manny Pacquiao makes the most sense, unless the WBA wants Thurman and Pacquiao to settle there. We've got the same belt problem, but we'll see. We'll probably know in a month or so. I'll read about it somewhere.
Let's patch in a caller here on Leaving the Ring. Fight fans want to call in 347-215-7598.
510, you're live on Leaving in the Ring.
Hey, Gabe. Hey, Dave. It's Randall. We're in Richmond. How you guys doing?
What's
up, man?
Bien, gracias a Dios. Sorry for your loss, Dave, first of all, man.
Hey, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
man.
it.
No doubt. I don't know how that feels, man. I'm sorry about that. My uncle, too, man. My uncle's the one who got me into boxing, too, man. Like, not my dad, my uncle, man. My uncle,
right.
Like, for me, from boxing was my uncle also, man. So I know.
It's a tradition, you know what I mean? It passes on. Your kids, especially for raza, Mexicanos, that it's a bond That was the way I bonded with my uncle and my grandfather, and all my other uncles and cousins and stuff, But yeah, it's been a little tough, man. Like I said, we buried my grandfather, not that long ago, and now we're going to be doing the same for my uncle. But they were both suffering, so I'm happy that they're at a better place. And like I said, I'm actually really happy because my uncle is going to be accompanying my grandfather. My grandfather's not alone, so how us Mexicans, bro, we're very superstitious, and my mom comes over and she has her house remedies, Mexican house remedies of what to do. When I was a kid and I ran into a wall and you get a big old swell on your head. I don't know any other culture that does this. Let me ask you guys: did your parents? So if you ran into a wall and you had a big old knot, my mom would grab me, start sucking on it, and then put sugar on it.
No.
And I was like,
yeah,
what?
That's a hard no. Yeah.
and she did that for a long time, and I used to be like, oh, okay,
I will say that my mom was like, from Mexico, and she would. There was like a lunar eclipse, and my cousin was pregnant, and my mom, like one of us brought it up. Like my brother Jerry, I think, said to my mom, "There's gonna be a lunar eclipse," and she's like, "Oh," and like, "Hang on a second," and called sister, and said, and you tell her to get inside and to cover her stomach with like safety pins or like some sort of metal, or the child will be born with a hair lip. And we were like looking at each other like, what is this? And like it wasn't for like years and years later that we finally asked our cousin, what was the other end of that telephone call like? And sure enough, it wasn't like my tia Lupe was like, oh, that's the craziest thing I ever heard. She was like, no, I'll get her out of the inside immediately and get some metal on her. Yeah.
You don't even realize how crazy it is. You know what I mean? If you're growing up Mexican American, you don't realize how like off it is because if you had a tummy ache, my grandmother used to boil a hard egg and rub it on your tummy, and then she would get it and throw it away because she said, I took out the bad spirit from your body, and my family's from Mexico City. They're from the DF, so weird stuff, man. And when you get older, myself, I was a young man starting a family, and I tried to do those remedies, and then like the family I married into, they would look at you all crazy, like, what the fuck is wrong with this vato?
There's a rancho right there, man.
I know, man. They're like, what's wrong with this guy? He's all brujerías and all that.
Yeah, like weird superstitions. But she also had like, the herbal stuff that totally works, like squeezing a whole lemon and then like a little bit of honey for like making your own cough syrup. It's like way better, especially like even if you have like allergies, like drinking that down will like, we'll do some shit for you.
My mom had a great one where, because we didn't have an AC, and if it got really hot, she used to put Vicks all over us and put us in front of a fan. So that worked really good too. But anyways, man, what's up, brother? So what'd you think about the fight?
You know what's crazy, man? Like I actually enjoyed the whole thing, man. Like I enjoyed the undercard and everything. Like I don't know if I got fooled by the presentation or the production, but I kind of felt like I was watching like a boxing Super Bowl, man. I was waiting for John Mann.
Yeah, right. The scenery was beautiful. The scenery was gorgeous, dude. The big screen, the atmosphere looked like it was like, wow. Well, you know what though? You guys went to the movies, right?
Yeah, I saw it in the movies.
Yeah, did you see that at the movies?
No, dude, I didn't stay home with my girl, man. I bought it online though, and it worked good. Yeah, I wanted to go, especially where I saw Gabe went, man. I saw the movie theater in San Francisco. They got leather seats over there, man.
Dude, they got the big recliners.
I saw that. Yep, Metro. Yep. So
they don't have the big recliners over in Emeryville?
No, they just got regular movie theater seating. It's fine. It's like a new theater, but they don't have the luxury stuff. It's
right.
It is.
That actually might be more fun because I felt like these seats are like they're great, but like you're pretty much hanging out with your row. Unless you like go up in the balcony, that seemed a little more communal. But everything's kind of high backed, so like. I knew somebody like 2 rows down from me, but like I just ended up staying in my row. I had really great seats, but it was like not as communal as like a regular movie house would be, I think.
Yeah, because they're like the size of a love chair, right? I've been in those theaters. I got one in Mountain like that too. It's just a big, they're like just one big old love chair all to yourself,
Yeah,
I've
like
been
2
in
cup
them.
holders,
Yeah, exactly. They're comfortable. They're also kind of annoying, like you said, man. The crowd in Emeryville, man, gets really good because you get a little bit of everybody, right? You got Oakland, you got Richmond, you got Berkeley, so you got a little bit of black people, whites, Mexicans, you got a little bit of everything, man. And it's hardcore boxing fans, man, like really into it, dude. So it's a super good time in Emeryville.
This was a mix, like Mexican, black, and white. I was like, oh, so this is where all the other Mexicans and black people are. We're all in one room.
It makes it better. It makes it better, dude, because as you know, like boxing, right? It's a little bit tribal, right? So it makes it better, man. There's somebody gonna be rooting for somebody, no matter what,
It seemed like there was more Spence fans than Mikey fans, and then there was just kind of some general boxing fans.
Yeah, it's a great place to take a date, man. Like it's like a casual place to take your girlfriend to go watch a movie, to go watch a fight, instead of like hanging out with a bunch of the homies or whatever.
I wouldn't recommend that. I wouldn't recommend it because then the date's going to be like, man, you ignored me the whole time we were here.
Yeah, no, I was kind of like, I went stag. I was like, this is great,
I was planning on it, but my girl ended up getting the day off, so I was like, screw it, man. Because I was thinking about going out to the Metro and hang out with you, man. Gabe. But it just didn't work out, man. Last second things. Next time, man. Maybe the Canelo fight. We'll meet up for that one. That'd be cool. Dude.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, I will be working that night, but that's a shame. That's like this was like my last fight. I'm going into rehearsals like next week after next, and then it'll be not till June 2nd. Then I can see fights live again. So.
Oh wow! How do you do that? How do you DVR a pay-per-view? How do you do that, man? Like, how do you get to watch it later?
I'm going to find out. Either find it online or just buy it. I think you can buy it on, buy it on the website, and I imagine do it that way. I just try to avoid, especially if it's going to be. But May 5th is going to be. So I'm just going to watch it later that night on my phone, or come back to my place and watch.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't think about that. You're right. You can watch it on demand. Duh.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That's great, dude. That's tight, man. That's tight. Dude. What's surprising, right? Like, I enjoyed the fights. I know they were one-sided, but for whatever reason, I just got caught up in the production, and I enjoyed them all, man. Somebody tweeted out like during the day, Graham Houston, that it was like the first time he could remember a pay-per-view where all the losing fighters only got one round out of all the fights. That's one side. That was two one-sided, then I guess at the end. But while I was watching them, I didn't mind. I enjoyed the what's the big Mexican heavyweight? Chris
Arreola.
Mm-hmm. Chris Arreola. I enjoyed that fight. It wasn't really competitive, but
that was a good fight.
Kick,
Yeah,
he looks like
big boys
he's come back seriously. Like his body, he looked in shape.
Yeah, he looks like he's matured. He might be actually taking it serious. Man, he's got talent. He's got knockout power. Maybe he could be an opponent for Wilder if he can. If he doesn't get AJ or Fury this year. That'd be a good fight. I wouldn't mind watching that.
You know what? It was man, I don't know. The undercard. Let me just put it this way: if you watched the DAZN Friday night card, I would have preferred having that as the undercard to the main event, to the Garcia and Spence.
Yeah.
That, to me, the DAZN Friday night card was way more entertaining,
Like I said, I probably got caught up in that. It was something brand new that I've never seen before, right? Like it was like watching the equivalent of the Super Bowl for boxing, man, with the production levels, the big football stadium, almost 50,000 people. I mean, that's just amazing, man. Whatever you want to say.
Yeah, and you're right because see, I didn't get to. I also didn't have a chance to go to the movie theaters because I had family come down because of my uncle. So I ended up paying for the fight here at the house, and everybody here did enjoy it. And my compadre is a fight fan as well. I mean, listens to the show and everything else. But like everybody else that was here they're not really. They're like seasonal fight fans, right? If a big fight's on, they're gonna watch it. Then they're gonna start asking you questions like, "Oh, who's this guy?" What? But they thoroughly enjoyed it. They had a good time, you know, and the same thing. Everybody was talking about how nice it looked there, you know, and how fun the atmosphere looked like in Texas. So, yeah, no, I didn't walk away upset like a lot of fans that paid for it or were saying that, oh, you know, pay-per-view, because sometimes I'm a realistic fight fan, though. You know what I mean? Hey, if I'm going to pay for it, well, I can't bitch about it after, you know, because I made that conscious decision to gamble with it. And I think anytime you pay for anything, you're making that, you know, decision to gamble with your money on whether or not it's going to be good or not good, right?
Yeah, the only complaint I have really. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, just before I forget and we run out of time, the answer I think is Sarung Vasai, who's on the ring's top 10 pound for pound. That's like won a fight that he wasn't supposed to against Ramon, I would say. But everybody, I mean, you know, it kind of makes no sense to elevate guys like this is the best guy in the world. Well, who's he beating that he wasn't supposed to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Canelo, right? Even though
put him on
people think he lost. What about Canelo, man? Even though people think he lost, right? He's still like, he was supposed to get knocked out both times, you know. Triple G was supposed to kill him both times, you know. And in fact, he went 1-1, you know, against him. So I think Canelo deserves. You know, I'm not into the pound for pound either, but he deserves his ranking also. I think, you know, just with his resume, and he's taking a lot of challenges too. He went in as an underdog against Floyd Mayweather when he was 22, you know, and so he's taking a lot of chances, man. He fought a lot of guys that nobody else wanted to fight, you know. And whether you think he won or lost, you know, he's pushed the sport forward, kind of like Oscar did, man. Oscar fought everybody. He didn't beat everybody, but he fought everybody, you know, and that was good for the sport. And that's what Canelo does, man, you know. So I think
knocked down Shane Mosley.
Yeah. Mosley was on the juice, too. Second fight. Yeah.
No, that was with Canelo, you mean? Or with Oscar?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. No, I was thinking about Oscar. Yeah, the second fight with Oscar. He was on the juice. I apologize.
Because they did VADA testing for Mosley and Alvarez.
He's done a lot of VADA testing, right? Canelo has. I think he's been maybe not consistently.
I want to say that's his first time. That was his first time doing it, doing like, you know, extra testing, third party testing was that fight. Because like there was, you know, the main event was Floyd and somebody, and they were doing USADA testing, and this was the undercard.
Man, well, I know you guys are up against it, man. I just want to say one thing, man. With Mikey, I had predicted he was going to lose in the 10th round, so I wasn't totally surprised by the outcome.
I had the 10th too.
I was just disappointed. I was just disappointed, man. Like, not necessarily that he got outclassed, but all the shit he was talking before the fight started, right? You know, even making this fight in the first place, right? And to do that poorly, it's embarrassing, man. It's an embarrassment. I really do think that, man. Like, there's nothing wrong with losing to the better man, but when you're talking all this shit that you're the better boxer, that you want this guy, you see something, you know, you're selling this fight to the public, to the fans, right? And that's what you do, you know. That's what, you know, as a fan, that kind of upset me a little bit, man. You've been, you know, you sold a bunch of wolf tickets, man. You know.
I think the extra weight was a mistake. I would have gone like 141. Would have tried to, or you know, I don't know. That being heavier didn't help. Maybe being lighter and being elusive would have helped. You know.
Well, that was another thing he bragged about, the snack training, right? That he was going to come in the best shape of his life, and it didn't show at all. You know.
I think he was in really good shape. It allowed him to go 12 to get beat up, but I don't think it accentuated his best attributes.
Right.
It didn't make him explosive like he said he was going to be, you know. Like, I just have a bad taste in my mouth with Mikey, man. I just do. I'm sorry, man. Like, I want him to do good. I was rooting for him, and just the way he, you know, he bullshitted us into buying the fight. At the end of the day, the actual fight, he doesn't do nothing. Nothing.
Well, it goes back. It goes back though, bro. Where Mike Tyson said everybody comes in with a plan until they get punched in the mouth. I think he truly believed he could outbox them. He was a better boxer. I think they truly believed that they were putting the right things in training camp to see something that they mentioned that they saw in Spence. The thing is Spence, like I said earlier, well, he took the fight serious as well. Because he came in with an educated jab, and he came in not being reckless. You know, he didn't really use his size. He used his smarts to win this fight. I give credit to Spence, but I hear what you're saying because my older brother Mike too. He was like, dude, I'm so disappointed. This sucks because he same thing. He thought that Mikey was going to go out there, and he just felt like it was a major letdown because of all the trash talk and hey, we bought into the hype. We bought into the hype, and that's what we get. That's what happens, man, and stuff. But brother, we're gonna let you go because we're at the end of our show here, man. I appreciate the call. I apologize to everybody that called in because the lines were full. We had Joe Goosen on, but next week for sure we'll get everybody on. We won't book a guest. We'll have plenty of time here on Leaving the Ring to discuss boxing. As always, don't drink or drive because you will spill your beer. Mr. Gabriel Montoya. Till next week.
Peace.